This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Find great deals faster.
Hello and welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. This podcast is designed by real people on their journey to achieving financial freedom, and we'll focus on people who've either already attained it, who are joining us on that journey, or maybe a specialist topic that can help you build your technical knowledge to achieving and maintaining that financial freedom. We hope you enjoy it.
Right, so welcome. Today we are featuring one of our 6-round episodes, and we're really delighted to welcome our good friends Ashley and Pippa, who they're really experienced property investors, well on their way to their financial freedom goals. They've actually, they've covered their base, a cash flow base to cover their living expenses and things like that. So it's great to have them here. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Hi.
Right, so we always start with a bit of an icebreaker. So the interesting fact that I found about you, Ash, is that you are an opera singer. Is that right? Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so growing up, whole family, a bit like Family Von Trapp. There was 5 of us, and we all sang.
The image is in my head now.
We all sang
Together at home.
Not so much together, but in sort of the local festivals in Liverpool and this kind of thing, and like sort of not semi-professionally, but competitively with local peers.
Did your parents have a strong opera type voice? Is that how you knew about it? Or
not so much, no. I think it was just something we led into over the years, and it was just sort of, I think my parents wanted to keep us busy as youngsters, and we.
So is it something you practiced as children?
Yeah, so we had lessons and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something you just turned up one day to a Sunday karaoke and all of a sudden...
No, not like my property career where I just sort of rolled out of bed one day and decided I'm a property investor. No, it was something that we did as a...
We worked up to.
We worked up to, yeah.
Yeah.
So who's we?
So my mum, my dad, sister and brother.
And you all sing?
We can all sing. My sister and my brother are still singing to a degree. My brother's more involved in the industry still.
He's completely playing it down. They have sung professionally around the world.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Which countries?
My sister's been in Luxembourg. My brother's been all over the shop. Japan.
Yeah.
I've sung in choirs.
Oh, practically? Is everyone the same?
Classically and choir. Real mixture, folk music.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of singing over the years.
Really
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I lost quite a lot of interest when I was 18 because I got into DJing and turntables became my thing. So house music and that kind of thing. But I lost sort of the love for it. But I can still turn my hand to it if needs be.
What a skill to have, though, right?
That is
It's really good. It's not something that you can just turn on either. I
No,
think,
no.
Especially if it's something that you've practiced. My singing voice is awful.
Yeah, you do not want to hear me sing. It's drunken night out with after a few people. That's about all I'll do.
I'll rock out a House of the Rising Sun because that's speaking down a mic.
Right.
I generally hold that card fairly close to my chest. I don't feel embarrassed about it, but it just
Should be. I think
the worst thing is when you say I can sing, and then someone says, "Oh, sing for us now."
And then there's a
pressure
that,
then.
But I decided not to bring that up.
Yeah. I had to have a word with my mum actually, because at a house party, my mum being the sort of proud mum that she is, it would sort of say, "Right, Ashley, you'll sing something for everyone, won't you?" And I was expected to perform there and then some sort of song or whatever it was. So
are you oldest?
I'm the middle.
Middle.
Yeah. My brother's about 18 months older than me. He's about 40, and my sister's about 35. 30,
and did they get the
33.
same treatment? They had to sing on
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Great fact.
Gone off the idea of telling people, but you asked me for an interesting fact, and
it's a good
I dug deep, and then that's what we found. So.
Admit it to everyone.
Yeah. And then Pippa, for you, I believe you started getting into property and you bought one property and then you decided, that's it, I'm quitting my job. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to be really good at a job I hated. So, I don't know, if you're stuck in the corporate world and you just get promoted and you're like, I'm really good at what I do, and it just destroys my soul. And I was 26, I bought my first house, and you need the pay slips. And I was like, hanging on. Got the mortgage, got the keys, handed in my notice. I didn't have a plan of how I would then pay the mortgage because I just quit and walked out. But I'm pretty good at doing ballsy decisions and just getting on with it.
Taking a few risks,
Interest rates were low at the time. It wasn't a big mortgage, was it?
Young and clueless.
Yeah.
But good fun.
Yeah,
excellent.
Good stuff.
Right, well, it's great to have you here. So just tell me a bit about your story and your background. You know, where did you grow up? What did you do?
Officially question one.
Is that for me? Okay.
Do you want to go first?
Yes, I was born in Liverpool, in Crosby, a nice part of the world, and went to school towards South Liverpool, in a school called St Edward's in West Derby, which is a choir school. So that leads on from what we're talking about. So as part of the Metropolitan Cathedral Choir, which was a huge part of growing up. That was kind of a way into that school. But I was chucked out of the choir eventually for my misbehaving. And then eventually the school chucked me out as well, which meant I went to a local comprehensive school in Crosby, which was really convenient because I could literally walk to the school instead of getting an hour long bus. So that's school life. Came out of school with very few qualifications, scraped into college, got was hoping to go into sort of children's nursing. My parents are social workers and that kind of thing, so doing some sort of a job in that sort of sector was interesting to me. There was very, very little else that interests me. So we ended up doing childcare at college. So I'm actually a qualified nursery nurse, believe it or not. Probably one of the tallest you'll ever meet. Never really used the skill of that, but
just imagine the dropping the kids off to this giant mat.
Yeah.
Immediately start crying.
I'm like a magnet for little ones. They love me. So, you know, my little lad's in nursery now, and it's actually quite nice to go in and see the girls and see the kids and everything. It's great. So that's sort of early sort of part of my career. And then I moved from that into general social care, working with kids in care, kids in sort of emotional behavioural disorder schools, care homes, and then kids prisons, that kind of thing. There was a progression, and left there in 2009 after seeing a job in the Liverpool Echo for a car salesman. So the job that I was in, the social care, was a lot of sitting around. Right. You're generally working with sort of teenagers in care, and then those teenagers would go out during the day and then come back late at night, and you'd be sort of waiting for them to come home, and everything that they brought with them was, you know, unpleasant. So it was a poorly paid, long hour job that required a lot of overtime to make ends meet, really. But I saw a job in the Liverpool Echo, the newspaper at the time, for a job as a car salesman, and I'll tell the story for me. So I applied, no experience necessary, turn up at David Lloyd Leisure Centre in Knowsley, walked in, the place was just full of car salesmen as far as I was concerned, lads in suits, mostly men, quite a few females, and everyone looked like a car salesman to me. And it was a whole day of psychometric evaluations, group exercises, one-to-one interviews, role plays, and I just went for it that day. And as the days went on, it was like they whittled us down. So what they do is that you go through these exercises, and I just made sure that I stood up, and it was like if there was a clipboard or it was a whiteboard ahead of us, and they said, "Oh, you need someone to write on the board," I made sure that I was the guy who got up and sort of made a good impression. And, you know, when the acting sort of came in at that point, and I was able to sort of do quite well on the role plays and this, that, and the other. I was clueless in sales, absolutely clueless, but I had a real go. And as the day went on, we were whittled down until we got down to about 7 or 8 of us. So we're all sort of shaking with the sort of, you know, the adrenaline of the day. It was a long day, and they took on about 6 of us, and then they got rid of the other 5 after about 3 or 4 months, and I stayed in the company for about 7 years after that. So what out of the whole day, it was me who sort of remained long term in the company. But that was a really, really good route for me. So the sort of sales has been a
so do you
part.
use a lot of the sales experience in what you do now? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I remember sort of leaning on my education, because they really do, you know, coming from a sort of almost like an enforcement role, shall we say, in the working with kids in care and kids in prison, this, that, and the other, going from that into a Missy and Mrs. Jones, who's just wandered in to buy her first or last car. If you're working with Toyota, if you're working with some quite, you know, an older generation, generally buy Toyotas, they require a certain level of tact and compassion and a lot of time and a lot of investment and relationship building. So that took a lot of doing for me, but also having the sales killer instinct to sell them a product with their car that you knew the dealership was getting for £35, you're going to sell it for £300.
Yeah.
Because that business is there to make a profit.
Yeah.
But that person's happy.
Yeah.
Understanding that, understanding profit and understanding making profit, came difficult for me. It was kind of it sort of pulled on my heartstrings.
A bit evil.
Yeah, I felt a bit evil.
But they were happy.
They were happy. And I think that's the thing. I think as long as everyone goes away happy.
It's a good learning, is that a win-win for everyone sort of works.
There's nothing wrong with honest profit.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really been good to learn.
Well, if you're not
over the
profitable,
years.
you can't provide the service.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that black and white. Ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, how does a letting
doesn't
agent
exist.
or a private landlord enforce a rental increase on his tenants?
Yeah.
If he can't justify it in his own mind, well, actually, this is the going rate.
Yeah.
So we're going to increase that to cover this. But if you can't take that, your rents will never go up. So those sorts of things have been really good. Qualification, learning how to qualify people, learning how to ask those questions,
Understanding people fairly well.
and just getting to know people was a huge part of that. Actually, really, really good experience.
It's one of his superpowers as well. Ash is so good at qualifying people, like building rapport and sussing them out. And it's something that I have no experience in. And
Would you say that's nature or nurture? Because that's a sales-based thing, right? That's something if you've repeatedly walked up to a new person and had to within a couple of minutes make a judgment on that individual.
Yeah.
That's I would say that's a nurture, because I had a sales for like 18 years. It was rough. But at the same time, it is a superpower. Would you say it was nature or nurture?
I think the nature came in later on after the sales. I think what was happening was what my boss really couldn't understand about me was because I was so institutionalized by my previous roles. I was very much, I'm here to get the job done or whatever it was. I want to sell you something, but I didn't know how. So they showed me how to sell. And then I used the relationships, the natural relationship building that I had.
The natural people
because what was happening was I was sitting people down in the showroom having a really lovely time, but not closing the deal.
Not landing the sale.
Not closing the deal.
Yeah.
I didn't have the confidence to ask for the business.
Yeah.
So when you've done all that work, you've done the test drive, you've done the relationship, you've had the coffee, you've given them given them a great service. Yeah. Having the confidence to then say, actually, I've done everything here. To justify asking for the business. So, should we do it?
Yeah.
That takes skill.
Yeah, that's
some people have that. But for me, being able to sort of have the ability to sort of slow everything down with people was the big thing.
Yeah.
So my boss was sometimes like, come on, customers waiting. I'd be like, I'm just here, getting to know these,
building.
You probably could have done the deal either way. But I found that I was very profitable.
Yeah.
The deals that we did with people were
spend that little bit of extra time.
Yeah. Once I got over the idea of selling insurance and selling add-ons and paint protection and all the other things that car salesmen sell in a main agent, that was all of a sudden my deals were £1,000 profit instead of a £500 profit, where the lads were just like, I'll sell a car. I just want to sell a car. I'm not interested in selling these products. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to sell them everything with the deal, or presume that they'll buy everything with the deal.
Yeah.
And sell them the benefits of it, and all of a sudden you've got a salesman who's doubling the profit.
Yeah.
Which was really good. So,
well, the double profit for the same deal is the same as two deals, right?
Exactly.
So your time commitment is less if you look at it in that respect.
So he can tap his watch all he wants, but this is how it went well for.
And I think
the sales.
I'm going to pick up on something you said there, which is obviously I've got a vested interest in sales as an environment. So, but you said some people have it more natural where they can just ask for the deal. Mm-hmm. I would actually say that's a worse position to come from, because if you can already make your peace with I'm just here to make money from this person, then you're not. I think it's harder to then unlearn that behaviour and learn what you had through your early career, because in my space the best people always cared first and did the deal second, and sometimes you had to tell them do the deal. Sometimes you had to say let's get the deal done and let's teach you how to get the deal done. But actually getting to that point, if you can care more in the process and go for that win-win and everybody's happy, I think that's a better place to come from.
I think you have to understand that sales is acting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sales is acting. So if you've got an acting background, brilliant. You're diverse. You've got so many ways of finding those inroads with people, and you understand that sometimes busy business owner will come in, doesn't want to talk to you about how he met his wife.
Yeah.
You know, but if you've got Mr. and Mrs. Jones who've come in and it's in the 70s and the last time they bought a car was 20 years ago, and this is the Toyota that they'll see them through.
Yeah.
With you can ask those questions like, okay, so how did you two meet?
Yeah.
And you just see
understanding that sort of person,
and just being able to disarm someone's the fear of walking into a showroom and being lynched by some sleazy salesman in a suit is gone. And you are.
And I think it is
completely manipulating the whole process because you're there to sell.
Yeah,
and you know what you're doing.
Car salesmen, like there actually is a lot of competition because someone could walk out and go to another car dealership, or they go online and stuff like that. So it's hard to build that scarcity approach, isn't it? Because there is competition.
Yeah, it's a relationship game, and it was lovely because once you stay in a role for a couple of years, a lot of salesmen move. Yeah, they get the green grass syndrome, and the grass is greener on the other side. It's very, very seldom not. I landed in a good company with this story. Really, it landed with a great company, Johnson's, and stayed with them for a good length of time. And it was then very easy to sell the second car, especially. So that was, we built up a good long term
good stuff
customer base.
Right, should we turn to Pippa now and tell us a bit about your story, your background, and everything like that. It'd be good to learn a bit about you now, and then after we've done that, we'll touch a bit on about both of you and what you're doing now and what your current business are and things like that.
Yeah.
Great to hear about that.
So I come from a long line of business owners and entrepreneurs, which I think it's inbuilt in me. So right. I am like Ash, I'm the middle of 3 kids. I'm the middle child. And in the same 12 months, my brother and my sister and I, we all quit our jobs and we all set up our own businesses, and we hadn't discussed it with each other.
Right.
My parents freaked
in the
out.
Blood.
But yeah, it's just in the blood. So I probably started working in my dad's business when I was about 3 or 4 years old. So he had a tourism business in the Lake District. Worked really hard, so probably got the work ethic from my dad with that. Dissimilar to Ash in that I aced school. I was super academic. I was one of those horrendous people who would just rock up on the morning, have a quick flick through what we've learned that year and get an A in my exams. So
sickening, isn't it?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good skill to have. Yeah.
Didn't enjoy school, but aced it. So that was quite easy. Went away to university because I wasn't sure what to do. Wasted 3 years and student debt, and then went straight back into running company. So I didn't study business. I actually chopped up dead bodies at university, which was super interesting. But also,
do you want to say what the course was, just before you get the police knocking on the door?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I studied human anatomy and cellular biology.
All right.
For no reason, and then so I went from being.
I thought you were going to say morgue studies or something like that. I wasn't quite sure of the term.
They would wheel them out of the fridge, so it was really interesting. But I came from a business background, and then I did university because I had to, and then I went straight back into operational management and running companies.
Oh, you thought you had to, basically, with university? Is that what you
it was we've paid for your schooling, you better go to university. And you're just I finished school at 17, and then you think, well, I have no idea what I'm meant to be doing. So
it's very common, isn't it?
Yeah, I just
There's
thought
a big link. There's a missing link, isn't there?
Yeah,
somewhere
definitely.
along that line about actually before you go and do something which is 3 years and a financial commitment. Yeah, sure, this is what you want to do.
Yeah, we're quite heavy on this topic at the moment, aren't we?
And then it's how to work out, what you do want to do at that age, isn't it? Is a difficult thing.
And had anybody said to me, Pippa, all your cousins on your dad's side, they're all business owners. Your dad comes from all his siblings are business owners. All the it's in your blood. Why don't you run after this?
Yeah.
So I actually was in business. I worked from a very young age. Every holiday, we had jobs. We had to work. We had to keep Ash was sent singing to keep him busy. I was sent to employment. Crack on with it. Yeah. And then I did university, and then I went straight back into running businesses. So.
And what sort of business were you running after uni?
So I started off in a science park. So it's an incubation center for tech startups. I did the operational management of the facilities. Then I moved into just working with consultants and friends who had their own businesses, but they needed sort of behind the scenes systems and processes and structures. So they would be AV consultants or like digital creative industry consultants, some like really well-known people in the Liverpool digital sector. And then I worked with them. Local charities that were going onto a national level. I did the operational management and I hated it. I was really good at it.
Every time you leave, they give you a pay rise, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, best way to get a pay.
Golden handcuffs, they call that.
Oh yeah.
That's how they keep you.
Right, and then so what do you do now? What do you both do now?
So now, so maybe do you want the link between the two?
Yeah, absolutely.
I basically worked myself into the ground with my health.
Yeah.
So just before we met, I was working like 7 days a week, busy every night in a row. Loved it, but didn't realize I was actually really damaging my health. So we met and then got married and my body completely collapsed. So my organs started attacking themselves and I didn't leave the house for a year. I was super ill. So we had to, like, we needed an income. You lost your job, which I was so glad about because I wanted him home because I wasn't well.
I was unhappy in sales, wasn't I?
But we had to work out, okay, how do we afford the bills without me having to commit to a full-time job or an employer that says you've got to be at this desk at this day, because I just didn't have the capacity to be able to do that.
I mean, it's hard for people who haven't seen this firsthand as well to fully grasp what that means in terms of the impact on your life. So my mum had an autoimmune deficiency syndrome and lupus, which was a similar,
horrendous.
Horrendous. And my wife has something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a degenerative joints based and faulty collagen. And those two things, when you see that in somebody, they want to do something, they want to be able to continue, but can't. It's not won't, it's can't. That something has to change. That is, unless you've been in that scenario and you see it, you cannot fundamentally understand it. You can't. It's impossible. No. Nobody can understand. I couldn't comprehend it, until. So I've seen people, and in the past have been, oh well, I'm sure they're struggling, but it's fine or whatever.
And you would
but
never
when you're in
that,
my God, it's
you'd
bad.
never know it to see me. I love public speaking. I host events. I host networking events.
That everything came to a stop, didn't it? Didn't leave the house.
Yeah, we bought a dog to get me out of the house.
Yeah,
And how long ago is this? What timeline was?
10 years ago.
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, we just got married. So we're just coming up to our 10
So
year
he met this,
anniversary.
You must have been 12 then when you got married.
Yeah, you're so kind, Bill. You're so kind. Yeah, but he met this
outgoing,
feisty, woman in leadership, cracking on with things, and then I absolutely fell down the toilet. Didn't leave the house for a year.
It was a big shock, wasn't it?
And do you think that was because self-care wasn't, at that point, hadn't been important to you?
I had no self-care.
Right.
I had no boundaries.
Because a lot of people just see it as like a badge of honor, as I work crazy hours and get stressed out and all these sort of things.
Like it was definitely modelled. So my dad had to sell his business because he was having a breakdown because he worked himself into the ground. And I was only 16. I probably would have loved to have taken it on, but I was too young to take on that kind of leadership and that knowledge and everything.
Yeah.
And
I think there was a sort of, I think it was modelled that, if you want the job done properly, do it yourself. Yeah. The idea of delegating and outsourcing was never really a big part.
Yeah.
It's an old school mindset, that, right?
Which is very common in that era, wasn't it?
Oh, but so arrogant, isn't it? Like, I'll do the best job, don't you worry. And it completely broke me. And interestingly, I've watched my brother and sister really battle with their health.
Yeah. And maybe you can do the best job yourself, but at what cost?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But some things you might do better than other people. But everyone's got their own skill set, haven't they? So why not just focus on the things you're really good at and then outsource the other bits that you struggle at or you can't do or you don't have the time to do?
Yeah, exactly. Or bring someone in who's maybe, got potential to do the job as good as you, if not better, but will take maybe a year to get to that point.
So by the time we met in our mid to late 20s, we'd both bought our own first houses.
Yeah.
They were both dumps. His was more minging than mine, obviously. And
absolutely.
So we were both renovating our own homes, clueless, start somewhere. So we got married and moved into my house because it was better. And
it was the location more, wasn't it?
And then we just heard about property networking events.
Yeah.
And he messaged me this looks right up your street. I wasn't working. I wasn't leaving the house, but maybe I could go to an event for 2 hours and pretend everything's okay. My health can cope with that.
Yeah.
So we went to our first meeting.
We booked on Pin Meet in Liverpool, didn't we? and it was 72 hours in advance as per the instructions to get into that prize draw.
They used to do prize draws.
Yeah.
You guys know they used to do prize draws. We won the prize. We won 2 tickets to like their
flagship event, wasn't it? I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
The Property Magic Live, wasn't it? And,
excellent.
and that was a trajectory that.
Yeah, and
For 2 days, that right?
So that kicked you off on your property journey or your business journey.
The amount of content they gave away at that event was incredible.
Yeah.
And we just thought, wow, we really like this company. We really like the ethos.
You've done a little bit of training with another company as well, hadn't you? Done like you were sort of, we were taking it sort of like property, I think is going to be for us. Like we're really interested in, like we actually really love property together. We established that quite early on in our relationship that we'd like, well,
you both had an interest in it.
I really like Victorian houses.
Yeah.
Like I really like Victorian property. Like I love the high ceilings. I mean, I can walk through a door without ducking, you know, 6'6". You know, we love this. Oh, I love the feel of these properties. So we got we were doing a little bit of renovation at home, enjoying that. And then the idea of property, maybe a passive income might be really good for us and get me out of this job that was starting to grow a little bit thin and the hours really long, and you know, I can spend a bit more time together and you can recover and maybe we'll take this one step at a time. And the whole property thing sort of come along, you know. Yeah. It was really interesting road. But
it's funny, you know, because you're both talking there about reaching a point that you've obviously had a health thing which has stopped you in your tracks, and you're talking about I was getting to the end of that time and in this
sales
and the one thing that I find is common with the people that we talk to and the clients is the first call, the question is, what are you going to do when what you're doing now stops? Yeah. And it isn't an if, right? Like nobody has an if. Everybody has a when, right? So, and that when can come at any time, right? It can come through either health or frustration, redundancy or company issues that are beyond your control. And I always feel like, because I didn't take any action for a long time as well, and I was in that corporate world, I should have started sooner. That's the one thing that I would always take away.
That's a big regret for me as well.
Yeah, I should have started sooner. But getting going is important, right?
Yeah, and you never know the when. I was 28 when my health failed.
Yeah.
And it was a total curveball.
I think you very, very early on one of our first dates actually planted that seed, didn't you? You said to me on one of our first dates, she was still feisty at this point. She's feisty again now. She's come back. But one of the first questions that you ever asked me is this all you ever want to do? No,
it wasn't. Let me redeem myself slightly. I said, if you could do anything in the world.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember.
And there's no limits, financially, geographically, like the resources, everything you need. What would you love to do? And he said, sell Toyota in Southport. And I was like, you may just be the most boring human I've ever met.
I love my job. You know, I was really happy at that time. So happy in my job.
Did that change over time as you think about it?
This wedge arrived. Yeah.
Because if you ask someone a question on the spot, they haven't properly assessed it or, you know, really thought about it necessarily.
It used to be a question that I used when I interviewed staff. And like one guy was coming in to be like, I worked with a luxury pool and spa company, obviously.
Yeah.
And might go back to them for discount one day. And I was like interviewing an engineer or something for the role. And I said, if you could do anything, what do you want to do? And he was so shocked by the question, like he'd never considered it. Yeah. And he said, I'd love to be a scuba diving instructor. And you know what? He didn't take the job. He chuffing moved to Bali. And I was so proud of him. Yeah. I was like, yes, don't do something that will suck your life away. And he just thought, why am I not doing this? And he got his qualifications and he went for it.
Well, that's what happened with me.
Yeah.
If you sort of...
Did that question change your thought pattern?
Well, actually, the question that she asked me was very different to what I just said. What I recall is this all you're capable of?
Right.
Yeah. Right. Which is
brutal.
Which I wasn't. Which I was in no way offended by.
Well, I was brutal when he met me.
I was shocked by it. You know, Pippa is, you know, direct. She's a lot more. She's got a lot more tact than she used to, but she's very, very direct. and that question just sort of was the best question anyone would ever really asked me in my life. Yeah. You know, is this all you can do?
Got you thinking differently, didn't it?
Got me thinking differently, big time. Really did. We tried to move from that sales environment because the thing that was, once I got with Pippa, once we started a relationship, if you're serious in a relationship with somebody, you're serious probably about having kids, probably about living together, this, that, and the other, and you know, starting a life properly with somebody, and to work 6 days a week in
Yeah, the role you were in.
How do I describe it in a glass jar, a glass showroom, with guys who have never had a bank holiday with their kids. Who, I mean, I'll just tell the story really, really quickly. I recall a really, really hot bank holiday, like a bank holiday Monday. We were all in in our suits and ties, and we're all on the forecourt, and we're all leaning against the cars, and all the traffic. We're in Southport, so it's sunny Southport. There's a beach nearby. All the traffic would go past our dealership down towards the beach. Yeah. And hanging out of those vehicles in the queues were kids with spades and beach balls and all the rest of the dog, and all screaming out the windows. And the lads were in the 40s, are quite a bit older than me. I was a young buck. I was maybe 20, 24, 25, 26 at the time. I can't remember the exact age, but they said, I'll never do that with my lad. I've missed so much time with my son. Like, I never see him, mate. Like, I'll never have a beach holiday. He's too old now. He's like 11 now. Yeah. I'll never see my kids in that way. I've missed so much. And I was just like, yeah, I'm never going to do this for long term. Like, there's got to be something else. And then when Pippa asked me that question, it was like, okay, it put me on a trajectory, didn't it, to leave the industry. And that's a very, very difficult thing for car salesmen to do. Because when you've been in something for so long,
it's hard for anyone to do the change, isn't it? And to take the risk and the change.
Well, you have a value as well.
Yeah.
So if you try and do something else, you're starting again. Whereas if you try and if you're good at what you do, if you wanted to another showroom and said, this is who I am and this is what I do.
Easy.
You get another job, right? And probably give you a pay rise and all that kind of stuff.
It's just a different product.
So you then tell your boss, he gives you a pay rise. So you've got this value because you add value to that, but you're only adding value to that business, really. Yeah. You're not adding value to you other than that you get a salary, which is...
Yeah, and you know, people have to live, don't they? You pay the
bills
to pay and everything like that. So,
Yeah.
So okay.
No, great. So you went to Property Magic Live, and then what gives a bit of summary from then to now as to what you're doing?
Okay, so from then to now...
Quick chronology.
Well, condensed version. We've probably spent over 50 grand on our investment education.
I would say my figure's very similar to that, actually. So
yeah.
Probably
so initially, when someone says, come do this course for 3 grand, I hadn't worked. I wasn't working. I didn't have a credit card to throw it on. People are like, oh yeah, do that 10 grand course, throw it on a credit card. And pay it off with what? Like my tears? Like when I was sick? Honestly.
Goodwill.
So
my tears, that's a great one.
We did get we'd put maybe a deposit down on a program that we knew we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like working out, okay, we'd saved up enough to like pay for part of it on a credit card. We did Simon Zicci's year-long mastermind program, and we came from a place of 30 grand debt. I was unemployed, too unwell to work. And then you have to find, it's about 20 grand, isn't it, to do the year. How am I going to do that? And I don't know anyone that would lend me a tenner, let alone 20 grand. Anyway, I raised private investor finance. Somebody else paid for my course. And they said, 0% interest, pay me back when you can, kind of thing. And you're like, oh.
You paid back within a year, wasn't it?
I've just raised some private investor finance. So somebody else paid for me to do our initial lot of education.
So you learnt that skill because you sort of had to.
They showed you, didn't they?
Well, I think everybody's the same. When they start out, they don't believe in themselves and they don't believe they can do it, because that's why you're in a job, because someone else tells you what to do, and it's easier and it's more comfortable and it feels more secure.
But society's directed you that way to that job.
Yeah, that's what you're taught. Get a job. And so I was really shocked that he would believe in me. Just like a family friend, not my parents. They didn't believe in me and verbally said, yeah, good luck with that.
A few people did, didn't they?
Yeah, and so you just suck it up and think, okay, like I'm going to give it a go and we'll work out how to pay this guy back. So the very first project that I did with like no health, no money, learning was a ginormous derelict brothel that we bought on market just with a local agent and took it back to brick, and now it's like our flagship 10-bed all-ensuite HMO by Sefton Park, which is a really nice...
Nice part of town.
Yeah, really nice part of town.
At the time, that property was difficult to value for a commercial valuer because they hadn't really seen anything like it.
Yeah.
I think 2019...
50 quid to get in as well.
Yeah, it's sort of £600 a month rent at the time.
Was a high-end rent
quite high.
Time, wasn't
quite
it?
high for HMO rooms. And the valuer came round. He was young. He was about my age. I knew him, actually. and he found it difficult to value.
Yeah.
And he put it.
We do
put the
talk about it a bit,
value
and we talked about finance this morning, but it's hard to get sales comparables anyway for HMOs.
It's a lot easier in that area now.
Yeah, but
There's a lot
you can
of
build it up at the time.
Magnolia,
Yeah.
horrible stuff at the time.
Yeah,
so
just
that was back
basic
in
stuff.
2018.
Yeah.
So since then, we've done a couple of big HMOs.
Yeah.
Thanks to COVID, one got stalled in planning for 8 months, and we just thought we're going to lose over 100 grand on this deal. It's going to all go wrong. And thankfully, because we came out of COVID and lockdown and prices went through the roof,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it worked out.
we broke even. We paid everyone back. Stressful,
Survived though.
but manageable. And then in the first lockdown as well, 2020, people approached us and said, we love what you're doing and we love the properties that you're doing. Could you manage ours, please? And I just said, it's right up Ash's street. He's incredible with people and building relationships. He knows about property. We're investors ourselves. He's really good at sales. Like, what more do you need from a great letting agent? So we set that up, and he runs that. That's his bag.
It was a lockdown side hustle that came as a referral from a guy called Billy Turriff to one of his mentees, and she was doing 2 flats. I call it an 8-bed HMO. Just treat it as one on the rental statement, but it's 2 4-bed flats.
Yeah.
They had planning they were building, but she was very, very limited with time and needed some referrals to design and things like that. So we recommended our interior designer, didn't we, for her? Had a coffee with her. She was looking for an agent, and I met with her to just sort of network really between bike riding and all the lockdown stuff that we had to do. But we ended up sort of as a result of that meeting setting up a letting agency, which costs very, very little really to get off the ground, but it's actually become like quite a big part of what we do, and about 100 tenants under management now, and it's sort of it's good turnout.
I do think, because we've got the letting agency as well, is that running it like an investor and understand what's important for the investor when you are managing it for other investors. You know exactly what you're trying to achieve. You want to put the rents up. You might look at their refinance and how well to maintain it, stuff like that. Whereas your typical agents, you'd probably know as well, they just don't think of it. They don't think about the management that way. They just think general compliance, let the room. That's what we need to do.
I was looking at some property filter stats the other day, and for Liverpool, there's I can't remember the exact figure, but it was like on average there's 80-day voids on rentals.
Really?
I was thinking 80 days. Like, what are these agents doing?
They're about 8 hours.
Yeah, like ours, the tenant moves out, the cleaner comes in, the inventory clerk sorted it, touch-ups, fix things, like new furniture, whatever's needed, and then that afternoon someone moves in. Like we don't have voids, so that's you just amazing. Think it's not hard to be great. It's not hard to be really good at what you're doing.
But traditionally voids come when something's gone wrong, right? That's what we find. So if someone's given notice in a weird way and you haven't picked up on it or something like that,
forgotten to advertise it, and then it's like, oh, I'm moving out tomorrow.
Like we won landlords because their properties were sat on the books of other agents, but they've been sat empty for months and they didn't know why. And
Yeah. And sometimes there's a few simple tweaks you can do to get it relet, isn't it? Absolutely. Yeah,
good stuff.
Excellent. So we'll move on to question number 2 then. So
it's not as long, these next questions.
All right.
Stop the podcast now. This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Property Filter is the #1 property tool for today's property professional. It brings in all the data points and sources from all the property portals and auction sites into one convenient place. Then you have the option to overlay all the clever strategies found in the Property Filter blueprint to find motivated sellers faster. Now, we use it on a daily basis. It saves us over 80% of our time when looking for properties. And if that sounds like something that you want in your lives, please go to register.property-filter.co.uk/PPB, which is the discount code for this podcast. You will get 2 weeks free and a discount on your first month. That's it from me. Back to the podcast.
So the question we always ask our guests is, what is financial freedom to you? And basically, what's your big plan with it? Because we know that financial freedom means different things to different people.
We're slightly different. So like as a team, we work well together because we think completely different. Like he's really relational and I don't really care about that side of things. Like give me the spreadsheet, give me the analysis, say it to me straight. We're very different.
So the numbers talk.
I'll proof your WhatsApp message reply sometimes.
And then he's like, could you just put something friendly in that? Like say, hi, how are you? Because I don't think of that all the time. So we're different. So for me, when we first started out, I had targets of like, okay, I want to earn $3,000 a month, because for me, that figure meant that, and that was when I was ill and not working. So that meant I knew that all our bills would be covered, and he could stop. So he was a tradesman at the time. He could get off the tools.
Yeah. $3,000 from property investments, you saying?
Yeah. So we wanted $3,000 passive from property, and that would ease the pressure. And then we wanted to start a family. Didn't know if we'd be able to, because my health had been so bad, that kind of thing. But we said, okay. And we got to $3,000 a month pretty easily.
Pretty
quickly.
Yeah.
18 months.
Yep.
Bit less. I was really surprised and super proud. And so we said, okay, well, let's try and go for $5,000 a month.
Was that mainly through your first HMO in Sefton Park? Or?
The first HMO didn't actually... There's so much money left in the deal, wasn't there? That
the builder ran off without money.
Yeah, the first one was a big challenge.
That everyone goes through.
Big challenge, really big project.
A lot of learnings from it, though.
A project that I probably wouldn't recommend that most people do. We did, and we did it, and we got through it. And I think that's the
especially when you source it yourself, you program it yourself and stuff like that.
I ended up stepping in as PM on it and finishing off and just going back to basics.
Because we do have some clients that they do similar sites for their first ones with us, but
but that's because they work with professionals, so that's how you should do it. We didn't do that. So
it is possible, but the key is sometimes either surrounding yourself with the experts or completely understand some of the challenges that come up as well.
So for me, the financial freedom is, yes, we have our bases covered. There's always, I was thinking about lifestyle creep before, because they say often, like, as you get a pay rise, you just have nicer holidays, or you have nicer clothes, or that kind of thing. We have lived like paupers for a long time. Like, we don't do family holidays. We don't have nights out. We don't have expensive hobbies / any hobbies. We live a very below average mundane life. Like, we don't watch TV, we don't have Sky and all this kind of stuff. And so for us, okay, we've stabilized our monthly income, passive, but we haven't really increased how we live. So that would be nice, wouldn't it? So financial freedom.
So $3,000 covers your costs, but you're thinking there's another figure that will let you live
it covered it.
Your
so we
life.
moved to a better area. So we did manage to get pregnant. We did manage to have a kid. And then we thought, where we live is rough. We wouldn't want our kids to go to this school. So then we moved back to Crosby, which was like treble the price an area probably from where we moved from. So that was a massive, like, if we still lived in our old home, mate, we'd be rolling in it. So like long-term financial freedom is to be mortgage free.
Right.
And then also we were chatting on the way over, like,
and obviously that naturally brings down your living expense, doesn't it? Quite a bit.
But like, I don't really care about money. So one of the like sub questions, like, what does money mean to you? Nothing. I don't really care about money. I don't particularly care about the bank balance. I've got targets for my bank balance, and I've got targets for my portfolio and stuff.
So what's important to you is the question, really.
So like, I'm doing my current development is 10 apartments, so an empty office into 10 apartments. And with the profits off that, 10% goes to the launch of my charitable foundation. Okay. So for me, money is more of a vehicle of like, okay, how do I steward this? How do I like resource other people who either don't have the opportunity or the abilities to do what they want to do? And I do have the opportunity and the ability, and I can invest that money into somebody else or another project or that kind of thing. So for me, yes, we'd like to pay off our mortgage, and it'd be really nice to go on holiday. but long term for me, it is about, I have like a massive core value of generosity. So for me, it's about facilitating other people.
So be able to have enough money that you can put into charitable causes and help other people and all those things.
Really whenever anybody thinks of a property investor, the image I imagine in their mind, and certainly the image that I had in my mind when I was a younger person, is not the image of the reality of that.
Yeah.
Because financial freedom, what you've just described there, getting to that $3,000 mark, my alarm when I first started off went off every morning. It said, you need to get to $3,000. That was the number. So it's similar, right? So that was the enabler, right? So that's the enabler. So that first level of financial freedom enables you to then do it more, right? Do more property, right? But those sacrifices that you talked about there, no Sky TV, no holidays, no going out, mundane lifestyle. That is quite a thing that people don't realize, that there's two ways in money, isn't it? There's, you can make more or you can reduce cost. And both of those things we talk about with our clients, in terms of, because the classic thing that we get is, we ask the question, what is your target goal? 10 grand a month, straight off the bat. Pretty much.
I've put that number out before.
Exactly. Really. Pretty much 70% of people just go 10 grand a month, and
it's a blanket.
It's just a blanket number, right? Yeah. And then you actually delve into it, and then their finances are 4 grand a month, 5 grand a month, and then it's actually quite refreshing to listen to somebody who says, actually, my first financial freedom goal was that 3 grand a month, because that meant that Ash didn't have to do the job that he didn't want to do, And that, I would recommend anybody listening is be practical with that, because if that number's 6 grand a month, it's going to take you longer. And that you can build towards that goal. But there's 2 things you can do. The first thing is, what's important. So if you're talking about spending time with children, each other, and building a business together, there's 2 things to do. First one is to increase to the number, and the second one is to decrease the number.
It's that time
and get
time
to that
freedom
right?
goal as well. Is like you talked about with your car salesman colleagues. Is like, firstly, if you can cover that base, it gives you that time freedom to be able to spend the time, even though you might not be going on holidays. You're there. You're there to go to the sports days, and the beach days, and things like that, aren't you?
We go to everything. Like, we're our 4-year-old, so our eldest is 4 now, and we're going to a school picnic tomorrow. He is so excited, and we'll both be there. So we had normal jobs.
That's amazing.
School sports days, pick up, drop off. Dad does most of those, doesn't he?
Well, I'm with you on that, because my daughter Isla's only 3, but she's got her first nursery sports day next week.
Oh,
so
brilliant!
I've got a few hours gone to that, and it's in the calendar, and nothing stops the type thing. So.
I think with kids as well, like when you got a couple of kids, or if you got children, things happen.
Yeah.
And being able to just go, right, okay, I'll just clear my diary.
Yeah.
That is that for me is a real sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Being able to just go, right, drop everything right now. You just take that.
I mean, that was a big drive for me, because I got family in Australia, and I've had bad scenarios in my family, health and things like that, and I've literally had to jump on planes and things like that to be there. So
I don't know how normal people do it. If people think you're not normal, how do you do it? When you have an employer and your kid is sick, we don't have family who can drop everything and take them. We don't have grandparents who will be like,
it's simple. They don't do it.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
They don't do it. And one of my regrets is I started my journey. Like I said, I wish I'd done it sooner. I didn't get to do the sports days.
Yeah,
I went to 2, I think, because I was working in sales for a length of time. So what you're doing now is very, very impactful for you, and I would say absolutely should be the drivers, because you don't get to do it later.
Our
There's
focus
no going back
is
to
to have all the kids can have as much of our time as they need. It's up until the age of 5, that's when their brain is processing the most security, connection, safety, and so we're there because we know this is a really important time to us. I will say that we've also grown so slowly, intentionally. And I know a lot of people put the pressure on themselves to be like, I've got to hit this target, and I've got to do it in 12 months, and I've got to...
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, that was you too. I didn't want to say.
I'm one of those people.
10 projects in a year.
We've all felt that pressure.
But I had big learnings for that as well, which I always tell people. So,
but we've gone we've grown really slowly on purpose.
Yeah, had a
so
kid.
It's not been too stressful.
Yeah. Done a development, had a year off. Just not bought another project for a year. Regroup. Right, okay. Need to remortgage this. Need to pay off these loans and get people paid back. It's been a really, really important part for us with investors. But I think one of the things
I can probably document your timeline on that as well.
Yeah,
because you go very quiet, and I don't see or hear anything from Ashley, and all of a sudden, boom, speaking at events, on the media.
I know, we're so bad at consistency because we're not consistent, because we do have the flexibility.
Because you
choosing not to be consistent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you do it intentionally, don't you?
We've got...
So our second kid, he was born at home on purpose. It was so chilled. We had you were too busy with project management, but then you were aware of that and scaled back.
Yeah.
And so then we're not growing our letting agency. We're not working with investors. We're not busy headless chickens. And so you're completely right, Phil. We go quiet, and then they're like, oh, they are still alive. Look, they're doing something else, because
yeah. Having a break is not a bad thing. I mean, got to hand to some people. They are relentless. They are relentless.
Yeah, like Tim.
You blink,
Like you guys.
You blink, guys. Being in property maybe just a year longer than me, and he's got 160 rooms in Liverpool. I'm just like, whoa, you own them. 160 rooms, that is 10 times what we've got, of our own, and you're just like, wow, that is.
But everyone's
But sometimes it's the
incredible.
right season
But
to put your foot
great.
down and go for it.
But that's great.
And for us, like, we want to go slow. I said to an investor recently, we're slow plodders. Like, we're not busy, we're not.
But it's strategic.
juggling
You're planning
everything.
it. That's
We're doing
what
it
you
on
want to do
purpose.
with it.
And they loved that. They were like, oh, you're quite a safe investment because you're not juggling.
Yeah,
Like when there
you're
are
not
projects, like
over-leveraging,
you help
yeah,
other people
yeah.
build their projects, but we're building our projects and working with investors and, like, here's one on the go.
Yeah, we're not super sort of, we don't have a need to constantly prove that we're performing to other people either. So we don't have that. We're happy to more than happy to get a project over the line, showcase what we've done, and then just have a bit of time off. There's nothing wrong with
So you
that.
control the ego quite well there. Because some people are just ego.
Yeah, and have the confidence to repay somebody you borrow money from, and then hopefully they'll lend to you again. That's a really pleasurable part of the job as well. Being able to I don't know. You guys. You use private investor finance, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
How rewarding is repaying an investor in full early, or even if it's just a little bit late, being able to go, guys, got your money.
Yeah, just paying it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And that is a real, that fills us up with a lot of joy.
Even just like, because some of them I've got long-term investors, just like that monthly interest payment, I actually get a bit of satisfaction just doing the transfer every month. I'm like,
got a couple of people like
another
that.
month, I'm absolutely comfortable doing this. And it's really good feeling.
But I think one of the things about sort of, I know Frank said on a couple of occasions, my eldest, nearly 5, our eldest, sorry, darling. I asked him what he wanted to do when he grows up, and he said, I want to go to work with you, Daddy. And that was like, I know he's probably, going to change over the years and things will change, but I think where possible, I think fathers have got a real opportunity there to shape their future. There's a lot of people who have grown up in businesses and that generation's taken over the family business. I would love for him and Jimmy, the younger one, just to come into our business and take over when we're done with it, and to see them.
Well, I'm just about to read a book. Have you heard of Daniel Priestley? He's got a book on how to raise entrepreneurial kids. So that might, I haven't read it yet, but it's been recommended, so it might be a good one for you to read and learn some skills from that to pass on.
I'd never try and bend his arm if he wanted to become a doctor, I'd always support him in any way if he had a passion. But if he wants to grow up and come to work with me, then that's absolutely fine by me.
He doesn't need to chop up bodies for 3 years to do that, does he?
No. Do some random boomerang degree and then come back to business.
Right. So moving on. So that sort of leads on to question 3. So just want to get an idea of, like, you've talked a bit about your strategies, but what are the strategies that got you to where you are now? And then, like, what does a typical day look like for you? Because obviously, like you're saying, sometimes you've got busy periods or quiet periods. Does it change quite a bit, your typical day?
Strategy in terms of property investment. So, we've got a small portfolio of houses, which are in Liverpool. And we bought those primarily, we bought all of them cash.
Right.
All of them cash. We raised.
So you didn't use bridging funds or anything like that? No, it's all cash.
For none of them, no. So what we tend to do is we tend to look where we're living.
Yeah.
So at the time we were living.
You know the areas.
We're living in Highton at the time on St John's Estate, which is ex-council 1950s ex-council houses. And during the spring summer when Frank was born, 2019, it was fairly obvious which of these houses were empty. Just simply by how overgrown they were.
Yeah.
Got like sort
weeds
of
out the front.
8-foot bushes on the front.
Yeah.
So we just started posting letters. And
Frank was a kid who did not sleep unless he was moving in a pram. So every nap time, I would pound the pavements and just walk for miles.
Yeah.
And because of that, we found like properties that were just covered in fly tipping. We found properties that were overgrown.
Yeah.
We just started writing letters to people, and that's how we bought our first handful.
Yeah. So you're very specific on the areas and
Yeah. So people have asked me, "Oh, could you help me find a property in Birmingham?" No. I said the last time I went there was when I was 10. I went to the Cadbury's factory. Like, that's all I know about Birmingham.
Yeah.
And I don't know the areas. I don't know the tenant demographics. I don't know the demand. I don't know rental
It's a good
value.
point, actually, because a lot of
just work in
when
Liverpool.
you're a successful property manager, people ask you like a wide range of questions, don't they? And like I think it's a very good skill to just say, actually, that's not my expertise. Because I had one last night. It's like, oh, so what would you do with this? I'm like, it's not my expertise. I don't know it, but I can tell you this guy over here, he does
and
that
I also
day
have
in, day
no
out. Talk to him.
interest in trying to learn stuff that.
Yeah, is
Like
it outside of your
I'll
niche?
connect you. I'll signpost you to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you can't spend £1.20 on a letter a couple of times, if you can't spend £2.50, you shouldn't be in property.
Is that how much Pippa costs to do the delivery service?
You know, what's a land registry document?
Pippa's hourly rate for the walk. Were you saying this isn't factored into the
£3 for land registry document.
Yeah.
Who's the title owner?
Yeah.
How many people we put off by spending £3 on a land registry document 10 times on 10 properties that they've seen?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to spend 30 quid. I don't want to spend another 30 quid on letters. You know, we did that a few times.
Cost,
and
very minimal cost.
we bought true buy refurbish refinance deals well below market value.
Yeah, yeah.
35,000 pound below market value.
All our single lets were unicorn deals, all money out. Because we found empty, nasty properties. Some of the owners didn't even know the houses were empty. You know, like, because they're just busy out of town, didn't realise they're paying the mortgage and they've got no income coming in from the property and hadn't even missed it.
One of the key things to being at it was at the time that you could dedicate to, obviously you were circling the areas anyway, so it's the time you dedicated to knowing the area, being in the area, and then running the letter campaigns. Was that one of the key benefits?
Yeah, it certainly
It
helped.
wasn't even really campaigns, like,
It was
we
basically
wrote
just
2
identify
letters or
them.
3 letters. And the owners
just
were like,
really seeing that property, seeing
so
it
it's the
overgrown,
persistence.
just targeting.
Like, how many people would send one letter and say, "Oh, I never got a response." Okay, great, do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Or like-
that's a
Why
good
give
question.
up
How
on
many
personal?
times? So some of these probably. How many times
Yeah.
would you have sent them a letter before they got in touch with you?
Typically 2.
2.
Yeah. Typically 2. We never really got an answer on the first.
But most people don't go past 1.
Yeah. They do one and then
And we always posted them, just in case there's a mail redirect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't just put them through the door.
And that's a big thing, right? Because we get mail redirects all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so we get people ringing, oh, this mail's been redirected to me, but the person you're writing to doesn't live here.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, so now I need to find out
Yeah.
where the person does live.
Yeah,
You know, it's kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's it. And just being able to move quickly as well, you know, having access to cash.
Yeah,
and
to
having
secure
investors.
the deal. We talk about this quite regularly. It's like
move
secure-
quickly,
Yeah.
go round there, get the landlord there or whoever it was, and make the offer and get.
We
get it-
say all the
get it
time,
deal.
like properties like slow, fast, secure it, get that done.
Can I be crude on just asking about like a typical purchase price, build cost?
Yeah, sure,
Just high level.
Should we just do?
Number 20.
Yeah, talk about that one.
So the property was on the street we live. So we bought 3 houses on the street that we live.
Yeah, one we lived in, and then 2 either
Two
side.
others. So it
They
was
were all empty.
They're all empty.
it was
This is why you moved.
it's where we moved away from. No, so the windows were like wooden windows. The hedge was 9 foot high. The grass wasn't mown. Like it was a dump.
That's
And
a good
then
one. Single glazed.
No gas supply.
One day, someone was
Probably a low EPC at the
like
time.
emptying stuff out of the property, and our next door neighbour, who's an absolute gem of a human, she
Born in
was
the house.
born in
Yeah.
that house and was in her 60s and had never left. Like, it's a very Scouse thing. Like, this was her patch, has never left. Oh, what's happening with this property? Oh, he was a horrible man, violent alcoholic, and he's just died, and his 2 sisters are clearing out the property, and blah blah blah.
Ooh.
I'd already put a letter in the post box, knowing it was empty.
Knowing
Kind
it
of
was
like,
empty.
if you're ever interested in selling this, we're looking to buy a house in the area. We'd be really interested to chat. Anyway, I saw a lady emptying bin bags out of the property, and respectfully but
Went round.
intentionally introduced myself. I'm so sorry for the loss of your brother. You know, like, if whenever you're ready, you'd be interested in selling this property, we're really looking to buy a house in the area. And so we just swapped phone numbers, kind of left it at that. Eventually she got back to me, we're interested in selling. Okay, great. So then she showed me round, and it was nasty. Electric heaters and just a shell of a house. There wasn't really much
It had no gas supply
in
to
it.
it.
No
was
central
really
heating, no hot water, really basic.
avocado bath type of thing, really old.
Yeah.
And we'd already done our figures, like, okay, how much would it cost to renovate this place? How much could we refinance it for? So I offered her 60 grand on the house, and she was a bit offended, but that's okay. What's the worst someone can say to you in Liverpool? Like, tell you to F off, but that's okay. You can say that to me. I don't mind.
But they can really say it.
They can
right?
really say it.
Yeah, there's a good accent for that.
I've been there 20 years now, and do you know what? I'm still not quite used to the Scouse feistiness, but
From
so
the feisty she's quite feisty herself.
And she said, I'll talk to my sister. Came back, can you increase it? Yeah, I can give you 65 grand. That's fine. And she agreed, and then her sister went back, and often when it's probate, and people are always thinking inheritance. So the sister decided, no way, I want more money than that.
We've already spent it.
Mentally, they've already spent the money,
yeah.
haven't they? So 65, no. Oh, well, the local agent said he can get me 90. And I was like, fill your boots, mate, because I know for a fact they can't. So they put it on with our local agent, and it didn't sell. So then they put it on with a London agent, because obviously that would just be on Zoopla and Rightmove anyway. So it went on with a London agent, and it didn't sell. A year later, she came back to me and said, are you still interested in buying it? Yeah. We are.
And at that point, they're suffering, probate is suffering holding costs.
Yeah.
Which are every
I
month
think they
reducing.
just got
the value.
over the I want this money off my brother. You know, they tried to sell it nationally, it hadn't worked. Come back to us.
But here's the key: we stayed in touch.
Yeah.
Little text here, little text there. How's it all going?
And because we
You
lived
having
on the
any joy?
street, we knew the house was still empty.
Little
We knew the
touch
for sale
points.
boards were still
You're talking
up.
about this now. I after this recording, I've got a text I'm going to send, because there's one I've just thought, you know, I've not spoke to that person in 2 months. I'm just going to send
There's
it.
actual,
Little touch
like
points.
I learned it's 7 follow-ups or touch points on average before you secure a deal, and that's the same for any sales, property included. So you probably had
So we just kept
probably
in
had
touch.
those touch points,
and then agreed the sale. I think we paid 65 grand for it.
It was about that. Yeah, it was 65 grand. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so we actually got the keys.
And when was this?
This was when Frank was 8 days old, so that was his first site visit. Wrapped him up in a blanket, walked around the corner, got the keys, went into the
It was a 30-second walk from our house. This
Not
house is
even that.
number 20. This was we lived in 21, but it was like opposite sides of the street, just around the corner.
Yeah.
It was literally it was perfect
And
because
it worked really well because I was home, I was really unwell,
and I could do my site visits without going very far.
Yeah.
and he was just
Yeah.
doing stuff around the
And
corner.
I just project
So
managed.
how much did we refurb it?
27 grand.
27 grand, and then it was revalued at 160.
No, it was revalued at 130 at the time.
Okay,
Later on, it went up.
but then since
very
prices have gone up.
Yeah.
So we
it
got a
was
65 grand house with a 27 refurb, and it's worth 160 grand now.
a little bit of investor finance interest to your lender, who's a family member, and
Yeah, someone put in all the cash to do the job.
and
Amazing.
the guy who rented it at Christmas. So we got it in the August. Guy moved in like Christmas Eve. We gone away.
Yeah.
We left him with the keys. He moved in Christmas Eve. Got the keys Christmas Eve, and he's been in there 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's really good.
And what's the
Come
plan
on.
with that property?
Say again.
What's the plan with
Just
that?
hold.
Keep it forever.
Just hold.
yeah.
hold
I
it.
thought, that's what I thought you were going to say. And
So
amazing.
we've kept everything we've done so far.
Yeah.
yeah.
Rinse and repeat. 6 month turnaround. Now on to the next one. On to the next one. On to the next one. Investor finance. Repay.
Yeah.
Repeat. And that's working. That's worked really well. We've put that sort of side of thing on hold now, haven't we? The single let side of things to move on to the bigger stuff.
Yeah, so
higher
we're doing
cash
bigger
flow
stuff now. So we've got our cash flow covered. We've got our portfolio that will hold, and we will slowly build it as and when. But we're moving more for. I've got development businesses now, so we're focusing on that. He's running the letting agency. I'm doing developments, and that's for growing our capital. Now we've got our cash flow covered.
Yeah.
Then we're going to
Get
grow our
more
capital.
profit.
Yeah.
More profit chunks. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Sounds great. Right. So question number 4. What are you most proud of in your sort of journey so far? Of all that stuff we've talked about, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm probably most proud of being able to sort of transition from something and as people sort of alluded to before, she comes from a lineage of people who are self-employed, self-starters, entrepreneurs, and I generally come from a family of workers.
Yeah.
Everyone's worked. So being able to move from completely different sector, but also a completely different level of employment
Get out of your comfort zone.
it is really good, and also just being able to have the flexibility to see the kids and have that.
And how old are the kids now? Sorry.
5 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 and 2. So 2 little whippersnappers.
Two little wonders.
And what about you, Trevor?
So my proudest thing has nothing to do with property, and I will always say breastfeeding my boys, it is the hardest, most exhausting, most brutal commitment you can ever make to sustain the life of a human being, and I chuffing did it with both of them.
Obviously, we can't completely comment about it. I've got the same with two young kids because my wife did the same. She fully breastfed both of them.
And, and
amazing.
Most women give up within the first 10 days.
The calories just getting sucked out of you.
It's so brutal. And doing that with poor health.
Calories are getting sucked out of you is a great comment. I'm just going to write that one down.
Literally are.
That's the way to describe it.
Yeah.
Oh, you asked before, sorry, like what does an average day look like?
Oh, yeah.
We don't have one. So we are not like high performance, let's go get it. Last week, we're like...
No, but you are high performance. You've performed very well.
You see some people who are like, this is my diary, dum, like
Block
focused,
planned,
intentional, like let's go for it.
Every 20 minutes there's something different in there. That's not us, is it, love?
We're not very good. So we sat down the other week and we said, okay, let's just be more intentional. Let's be more professional. We're spinning loads of plates and we're dropping them.
Yeah.
Like responding to your emails, Tim.
I'll turn it up to the last podcast we got it.
Yeah, turning up to stuff. So we're just dropping things. So, okay, let's be more organised and let's be more intentional. So we sat down together, worked out a block schedule. Okay, this is what the day looks like. And we put in our immovables. And actually for us, that's the kids, like drop off, pick up. Jim doesn't have daycare on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like we're home, like we're with our kids. And then it's like gym sessions, swimming, and then we've got specific like income creation times and marketing focus.
Yeah.
Day one, we tried it. My eldest is off school ill. I was like, excellent. So there we go. The whole plan is in the bin and we're hanging out today, buddy.
Yeah. You may as well not have a plan with kids.
Yeah, well, the plan is the kids and everything.
Little ones are very unpredictable. Things are always changing and
lots of bugs at school. And
there's a lot of things going on.
Do you know what? We're so fortunate that we can.
Yeah. And
like, okay, I need to reschedule meetings.
People, very different.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's right. If you were in your sales role and stuff like that, it just
I think
different
you'd
world,
be
wouldn't it?
crippled with the two kids and, even just with one. And I was working 6 days a week. I think that would be
6 days a week. So when we'd met, when we decided, okay, we'll get married and there'll be kids, hopefully, I said, I'm not going to be a single mum if you're working 6 days a week. I'm not interested in that life. That's not a lifestyle I would sign up to.
Which has been been good, yeah.
Right. So question number 5 then. What's the best bit of advice you've ever received from someone? And it could be absolutely anything. Mm-hmm. What's the best bit of advice you've had?
You go first.
So from 2 different business coaches, they've probably said to me over the years, why not you? Why not you? People are going to make...
Love that.
People are going to make wealth from property.
Yeah.
Why not you? People are going to achieve their dreams. Why not you? Like people can be millionaires or nomadic travelers. Like that's quite trendy for property investors. Yeah. I'm a home bird. Like I hate flying. I can't be bothered leaving the country. And much to Ash's great sadness and distress. But like, why not me? Like we're running after some big hairy dreams. And probably back in the day, you think, you start off thinking, just stay in your lane, stay in your job, do the right thing, have a good life. Well, why not me? Like I'm not trying to be the next Grant Cardone and bajillionaire with private jets, but why not me achieving my dreams and doing incredible things? So when you said, what's your financial freedom goal? It was $3,000 a month. I have another goal at the completely other end of the scale where I want to give away £1 million a year. I have no idea how to achieve that, but why not me? Other people do it. So it was like a massive mindset.
Have you got a time frame for that?
The £1 million a year? No.
we like Academy, no.
We're in need of a bit, so...
You wouldn't meet my charitable criteria, sorry.
And my wife is exactly the same as a home bird, Asher. If you ever want to go and travel around Bali, mate, I'm 100% on board.
Do you know what?
Let's get the backpack. I'm in.
Do you know what the problem is?
Well, on the way to Australia, we do a 2 or 3 months to Oz. We can stop for Bali on the way.
Do you know what the problem is with having all this free time? I mean, you're busy. When you got kids, you've got 20 hours a week, haven't we?
Oh, so we're running everything off 20 hours childcare
20 hours a week.
That's it. So we have to be focused.
By the time...
you really dedicate your time, don't you?
Yeah.
By the time you've dropped them off at 9 o'clock in the morning,
And you swan off to have a coffee with
you
your
get
best
home,
mate
you bump
and-
into a lad, another dad or whatever it is, you go have a little coffee, whatever it is, come back, go to the gym, come back, you've got about 3 hours before you've got to go and pick, for at least, wherever you are in Liverpool, you can get within an hour. So you've got to be looking at, by 2 o'clock, making your way back to get to school gates for 3.
Yeah.
So you've only got a few hours a week to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I think that the problem with having no day job and being a property investor is, or any job where you've got a lot of free time during the day, is that most of your mates work.
Yeah.
So they got 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Well, their evenings are taken up with their family.
And exhaustion.
Yeah. And you're free in the day. So who else is? It's trying to, sometimes it could be a little bit sort of seasonal.
Some other
It's
property
seasonal.
investors, and you can catch up.
Yeah,
on
we need to get some. You need to get
on a Thursday morning.
some camaraderie going, get some activities going, and do some stuff.
He's
So-
also
noted that Barley might be on it.
He's super sociable, super extroverted. Like, if I don't speak to someone for a whole day, my heart is happy.
Yeah.
I love it. Whereas he's like, I
No,
can't.
that would stress me out.
I can't stay here.
I'm terrible in my own company. Genuinely.
Best piece
Well,
of
I
advice.
do like my own company as well sometimes. So
Best piece of advice. This is something that I kind of struggle to recall something, but I think that one of the best pieces of advice, not necessarily that someone said to me, but that I've come to really understand, is just buy assets. I think if you buy assets put money in your pocket.
Yeah.
Assets give you freedom, choice, time.
Yeah.
Generally, depending on what assets you buy and how well you buy them, and then you can choose.
Creates
What
it
you
helps
wanna do.
create freedom.
Yeah.
So is that Rich Dad Poor Dad thing that you got that from?
It's probably
or
somewhere along that
Yeah.
lines. Yeah.
It's probably one of the only books you've ever read.
If there's only one book you ever need to read, I would say that's probably up there, one of them. So
It's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good one,
yeah.
I already had your best piece of advice. And it was the question you were asked. Is this all you're capable of?
Oh, there we go.
I wrote that down.
He just needed a bit of a poke, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think loads of people do.
Yeah.
Like, I speak to people who want to invest in property, or they're doing some training, but in their head they don't think they can do it. And you just give them a bit of a poke, like, come on.
If you're in a job,
I've
you
been
work
able
with
to do
somebody
this,
else, right?
so
If you're in a
anyone
job,
can.
Yeah.
whatever it is, you're working with somebody else, and you can be very proud of that. You could have done all the training and all the qualifications and the university degree and all that kind of things. You might have advanced your career, and maybe you should be really proud of that. The fundamental is you're working for somebody else, so that question is relevant.
Yep.
That question is relevant no matter what you do
Yep.
Yeah.
or who you are, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of people I think who we do
Might not
try
like it.
and impart a little bit of advice to, who will never ever do anything with it, which is unusual to because I was prodded and poked and given a bit of a kick of the backside with sort of is this all you're capable
Friendly
of?
shove.
Almost friendly shove, shall we say? And actually went on to do some pretty good stuff.
It's a good
which
point,
was-
because sometimes I just think they're not taking advice because it's not for them or they don't need it or whatever. But like you said, maybe that person actually needs a bit more pushing to actually take some action with it, and actually that is what they want to do. But you just think, all right, maybe they're just fine with it.
Yeah.
I struggle with it personally, but they're okay.
As we were coming over, sort of doing our lastminute.com answers to the questions, I got this. I remember a piece of advice that I did get, or it was a saying, which is basically graveyards are full of people who never ever reach their full potential. There's so many people out there who will end their lives, never ever reaching or
And having some big regrets and things like that.
there's so much more, isn't there?
And one thing I only learnt this year is that my dad was a really successful businessman. He worked 6 days and 2 nights a week. And so I didn't see him growing up, like he wasn't really in my life.
Yeah.
And I learnt this year he hated his job.
Oh no.
Oh, that's
rough.
really shocked me, because he sacrificed his entire family, our entire upbringing. And I thought he loved the job more than the kids, because that's where he put all his focus. And then he turned around and said, I hated running this business.
I was surprised to hear that as well.
And you just think, you worked your backside off and did well, but you didn't do anything in life that you wanted to do it.
Did it for you, did it for everything else.
Just think, like, we've got friends and they've got husbands who are literally counting down the months to retirement because they're in a job that they hate, and you think,
And it's killing them.
and it's killing them, and
Yeah.
and they're actually like depressed and struggling, and you think, like, it's honestly, it's not as hard as you think to get into property. It really isn't as hard as you think.
No, absolutely not.
And if you have the choice of doing something that you hate till you retire, which at our age will be like 82 or something, state retirement.
I think the key thing, because we talk about, I know it's a property, it's like it's a simple process, and like anyone can get into it, but it's not necessarily easy, is it?
So we work our butts off,
Yeah.
and it has been so stressful.
And there
times.
are risks you take, and but you do want to get educated. You do want to surround yourself with the right people and all those sort of things. But when you do those things to get to the level you want to, it's very achievable, isn't it?
Yeah, and you deserve everything you get. You deserve everything you get. If you're willing to remortgage the house and put all the equity that you can possibly get out,
guarantees with loans and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you can PG something, debentures, if you can put everything on the line and then make it a success and make a profit, that will be a profit for life.
And like you said, pay back your investors.
And you can afford to have a certain lifestyle or do certain things. You deserve everything you get. And if you choose not to, you deserve everything you get. You know, I think earlier on, it sounds rough. Look how straight I'm being. You know,
Proud of you.
I was waiting for the punchline. There's one coming.
But actually, I wanted to touch on a point that you made earlier, because you said something along the lines of the perception of people in property.
Yeah,
and people don't see
people that aren't in property, the perception.
People don't see that everything that goes on behind the scenes and how slow it is and how painful it is and all the red tape and all the hoops you got to jump, and the down valuations and investors pulling out and tenants going rogue and builders running off with, you know,
but I remember
life-changing
when
things.
I was working as a construction project manager on building sites, people talk about it all the time. It's like, it'd be good to get into property or whatever. But everyone's just like, it's just some rich guy doing it. Like, it's just some rich guy that's a developer, and that's it. That's just what people think.
But the point was, the perception from people day to day, looking on the outside, looking in, is that you're absolutely minted.
Yeah.
Right? And we've had probably about, in the space of about a week, wasn't it? At least 3 people said to me, when's enough, mate?
Yeah.
I was like, mate, I've not even started.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't own a watch.
Yeah.
You know, like
you just looked at a blank wrist. So.
yeah. You know, like, we don't go on holidays. Yeah. We're not mortgage free. We're not debt free. You know.
You know, we got to a certain level. And
but you've got the time frame. That's like a lot of people being.
But actually, the perception is that you're absolutely made and you've earned a fortune through it. And it's really not the case. It's a real get rich slowly process, and it's
wealth is
so
built,
hard
isn't it, over time. It's
it's so hard.
But if you project forwards now 15 years, even on your current asset base, if you did nothing else and value and then that kind of thing, you would generally be okay, right? And that's the difference between then and now.
Yeah.
But the thing that gets me is always somebody might say, but you might get hit by a bus tomorrow. Yeah, but you're probably not going to. Yeah, the chances that are low. Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah, but we're like mature grown-ups now because we've got everything in place. I've got my lasting powers of attorney. I've got my will. I've got everything will go into trust for the kids.
You jinxed it then.
No, like, I'm covered.
Have you done that through the black box? Out of interest?
No, I hadn't heard of them until.
I've literally just been going through it. There's a guy called Akash that does the black box. It's amazing, and it's all of those things all lumped together, and it just really gives you family security if something like that was to unfortunately happen.
But you know, on this point of when's enough, that's basically like you've done enough. Like, you know, being any more is being greedy. Well, if you've learned, or if you have a natural ability to generate wealth, what can you do with that wealth? How much?
But also,
can you give away?
Generating that wealth, you're adding value somewhere along the line. So,
how many people can you bless?
There's a massive difference between retirement and living with purpose, right? So. Just because you don't work every day doesn't mean you don't have a purpose. And like Pippa was saying, she wants to give $1 million away a year.
I mean, I haven't made $1 million yet, I've got a way to go.
I'm really looking forward to what happens with this goal. Yeah.
But if money's a vehicle,
it's just £86 a month. You know, carry on.
Yeah. But you think you make that $1 million? There's so much good you can do with that, isn't it?
Yeah, so much good you can do.
Why stop?
The owner of Red Row Homes is a massive new build company in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Do they build nationally?
Yes,
they do.
Red Row, the guy who runs it is a Christian, he's a believer, and he's like allocated something like £24 million. He's committed 24 million for the next X number of years that is going to his the charitable arm of everything that he does.
Wow. That's amazing, yeah.
And you think Red Row, they're really expensive. Okay, but people will pay that price. People want that product. And he's like changing people's lives off the back of it. So
they're probably the best quality new builds you can buy.
Yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah.
For the most expensive,
yeah, definitely.
Retro. Got a good rep.
Yeah. Right, last question. So what we do for our 6 rounders questions is we have a question from a previous guest.
I did not even consider you might ask this. Okay, yeah.
We've got to ask them a question as well, haven't we?
Yeah,
So I've got it written down here because it's not even one of our questions. But the question is, would you rather £1 million and no business or investment knowledge, or no money and a lot of business and investment knowledge? And your reasoning why for that response?
That's a no-brainer for me.
We unanimously agree on this point, don't we?
It's all about the knowledge. So we've worked with over £2 million of private investor finance. So starting from a place of debt and no income, we have like learnt. And then we've worked with millions. So you don't have to have the money, but you have to know how to use it wisely and how to use it safely and mitigate your risk. And that's all like my spreadsheet geek coming in. But
teach a man to fish.
Yeah. So you wouldn't take the £1 million, you'd take the knowledge.
I'd take the knowledge. And it's probably something we say to anyone. If you want to get into property, learn how to do it properly.
Yeah.
And if you don't have time and capacity, work with someone like Property Portfolio Builder. But
you
guys, you have the knowledge and the skill set, and so people can do it safely. So if you don't want to learn, or you don't have the capacity to learn how to do this really well, you need to work with someone who can.
Yeah, or you need the skill to find the right people or get referred to the right people. Yeah. I suppose the argument that if you got the $1 million, then you could learn the knowledge. But I think maybe if you get gifted the $1 million, you're not motivated to go and get the knowledge, are you?
Isn't it like if you win the lottery, the rates are like within 5 years, 97% of people have lost all their money or something.
Very quickly.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And obviously,
and scary.
I think it's quite nice, but I think it's certainly. I think that guy who just built like his back garden into like. Do you remember him? The guy who had
don't watch TV.
He had like a dirt car type, bumper car type thing in his back garden. He got all his mates round. They all lived in the same house. They just spent it all. Yeah. I mean, I bet they had a wicked time for a few years,
12 months or 2 years or whatever.
Yeah. Well, he was not set up for.
I think if someone put £1 million in front of you and you had no experience and no guidance and no anything, I think it would soon be extracted from you.
He had stock car racetrack in his back garden.
Extracted from you from various people.
Yeah. And then part 2 of our final round of questioning is you need to ask us a question.
That's right.
Have you prepared something?
I have prepared a question for you.
So this is the only unscripted bit. So all right.
So if you were starting again, if you were in your employment, and if you were starting in property again, what would you do differently?
And I do say this quite regularly actually, my only real difference I would have done was focus on high cash flowing properties as like the first step. Because I started doing, I think it's sort of like you, I did some singlets, and they did actually return quite well, recycled some money, but it was a bit slower to get to the point that I could replace my salary, which was my goal. So I would start more higher cash flowing properties quicker.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's the only real key difference.
Mine's really easy. So because I started doing rent to rent, I wouldn't do rent to rent. It's that simple.
Yeah, me neither.
I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole.
Yeah, well, I had a rent to rent business, and I had to liquidate that company in the end because there was too many. It was defrauded by a third party, which is something we've discussed on another podcast. And that's the thing is that I would start owning assets. Just go for assets. It's something that you straight off the bat.
Yep.
That leasing or rent to rent environment is good from a cash flow perspective and can be good, but it also is open to lots of
risk.
So much risk. It's the highest risk thing I think you can do in property. So.
You're a letting agency with the risk, aren't you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, exactly right. Yeah. That's effectively what you are. So that's what I would do. I would stick to purchasing assets, and I'd just dittoing what Tim's saying. Dittoing, there you go. That's a good verb. What Tim said, which is I would go multi-income property first. I did the classic buy a single let, and then I would go for the cash flow assets first, and then I would actually reverse it later down the line, and then go for the single lets when I've got more capital and wealth.
Yeah, well, you need to have a little bit of landlord experience behind you normally to get a mortgage on a larger cash flow asset.
Untrue.
Sometimes certain lenders you need either 6 or 12 months.
Okay.
So what we've actually found is that sometimes if you have a bridging loan that's 12 months or 18 months, you can get the 6 months within the bridge period as long as the project's delivered, to a reasonable time.
Okay. But you have to have a high risk profile to not get the mortgage product anyway. So we have clients who've had no experience who've gone straight in with.
And that scenario is with someone that's not a British citizen that lives abroad, and they could still get it with 6 months experience.
When we did our first big HMO, I had a single let, didn't I, in my name?
You had landlord experience.
I had my first house, which was rented out in my name, and
it may be easier now than it was a few years ago because it possibly was a bit strict.
It was strict to 5 years ago.
I think HMOs were more of a risky product, seen as a riskier product back then, but now, because single lets don't cash flow, I do think that there's a bigger focus on actually we want to do that.
Okay.
Because we've got clients from overseas who've not got any experience
at all. From the lenders
who've got HMOs with no landlord experience. Yes, they're British citizens. And Tim's example there was it's a non-British citizen who doesn't live in the UK, lives in a high-risk country in the Middle East, and he has got through the process and he doesn't need. And we were originally doing the bridging loan. We were originally doing that.
Yeah.
Which was you would actually get 6 months, and then actually the lender said, "No, it's fine.
It's very interesting.
We'll do it."
Yeah.
So there you go.
Things have changed.
There you go. It's all about the knowledge, not about £1 million.
Yeah. And obviously, depending when you listen to this podcast, it can change.
Yeah, those things change. It's not financial advice.
Talk to brokers on the current circumstances, but that at this current point in time, I believe that thought pattern is a bit different.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, that wraps this up. So just to finish off then, if any of the listeners want to get in touch with you guys or there's anything you want to talk about just to finish off, could you let our listeners know?
Yeah, sure. So we are just starting a YouTube channel called Property Addicts.
Excellent. With
our first episode coming out shortly. So if you're going to keep an eye out for that, that's an insight into our life really.
So on YouTube?
On YouTube.
So Property Addicts is the YouTube channel, is it?
Yeah. That's the name. So it's basically our channel. It's going to be showcasing, sort of explaining who we are, and then letting people look into what we do, especially as we move into some large developments now, moving into some really, really interesting projects, and some of the biggest projects that we've ever done. It'll just be a warts and all sort of, highs, lows, good, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, the real life of it.
The real life of it. So it's really, really, really good tool for people to have a watch, maybe be inspired, hopefully inspired by some other stuff, and let investors see into us as well, because it's a slightly different investor lending landscape than it was 5 years ago. Right now, I don't know if you guys see the same thing, but things are changed a touch in that market, and so to give people a little bit more confidence in lending with us, it'll be a good fly on the wall for people.
And it sounds like you give quite practical knowledge of what you're doing and things like that. So, whereas you don't necessarily get that information from your general courses and things like that.
No. Filming's already begun on that, so first episode will be out soon.
Good stuff.
Sounds good.
Definitely tune in. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. That's it, guys. Thanks very much for coming along, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. If you want to get in touch with us about today's podcast or any of the learning topics that we've gone through today, you can email us at podcast@invest-prop.co.uk or get in touch with us with whichever your social media platform of choice is. If you think you would add value to us as a guest on this podcast, you can please get in touch and let us know what you would be able to talk to us about. Other than that, we wish you well on your financial freedom journeys. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.